All right, let's talk strategy. Today, we're diving into one of the most fundamental tools in the business world, the SWOT analysis. You've probably seen it before, right? It pops up everywhere, from scrappy startup pitches all the way to the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies. And there's a good reason for that. It's absolutely essential for making smart, strategic decisions.
So here's the big question every single leader has to grapple with. In a world that's just constantly changing, how do you find clarity? I mean, think about it. The market shifts on a dime. Your competitors are always making moves, and you never have enough resources. It's complex. So how do you cut through all that noise? Well, it starts with having a solid framework to just organize your thought.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by breaking down the SWOT framework itself. Then we'll put it into practice with a really cool case study on AMUL, the giant Indian dairy cooperative. After that, we'll talk about the most important part, turning that analysis into actual action. We'll wrap up with some key things to keep in mind and your main takeaway. Sound good? Let's jump in.
So let's get right into the SWOT framework. And I want to be super clear about something. This is not some stuffy academic theory you just read about in a textbook. No way. It's a hands-on practical tool. It's all about getting your thoughts organized so you can really size up where a company stands against its competition. It forces you, in a good way, to look at what's happening inside the company and what's going on out in the world. That's the bedrock of any solid strategy.
First up, we have S for strengths. Pretty straightforward, right? These are the things your company is genuinely good at. They're internal, meaning you control them. Think of them as your secret weapons, your core advantages. It could be an incredible brand that everyone loves, some unique tech that nobody else has, or just a team of absolute superstars. These are the assets you really want to lean into. All right, next is W for weaknesses. And this is where you have to be brutally honest with yourself. These are the internal factors that are holding you back, putting you at a disadvantage. Maybe your tech is seriously outdated, you're short on cash, or your processes are just clunky. Facing these head-on is so critical if you actually want to improve. Okay, now we're shifting gears. We're looking outside the company's walls, starting with O for opportunities. These are the positive trends happening out in the world that you could potentially ride like a wave. You know, maybe consumer tastes are changing in your favor, a new technology pops up that you can use, or a market is suddenly wide open. These are the external factors you can use to your advantage. And rounding it out, we have T for threats. These are the storm clouds on the horizon. Again, they're external, things you don't control, but that could seriously harm your business. We're talking about new competitors jumping into your space, new government regulations that make your life harder, or even a big economic slump. Spotting these threats early, that's the first step to making sure you're prepared for that. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this works in the real world. We're going to apply this framework to a fascinating company, AMUL. Now, if you're not familiar, AMUL is a giant. Founded way back in 1946, it's India's largest dairy cooperative. It's a household name there. It's just a perfect example of how an organization can succeed and stay on top, even at a massive scale. So here it is, the whole SWOT analysis for AMUL laid out in one matrix. This gives you that quick, high-level snapshot of where they stand. But now the fun part begins. Let's break this down quadrant by quadrant and really dig into what's going on behind each of these points.
When you look at AMUL's strengths, one word comes to mind: scale. I mean, it's just immense. They're the market leader, holding a third of the entire organized ice cream market. Their brand with that iconic AMUL Girl mascot is legendary. But honestly, their biggest, most powerful strength, their moat, is that cooperative structure. Just try to wrap your head around this. They collect 18 million liters of milk every single day from 3.6 million different producers. That is a logistical feat that is almost impossible for anyone else to copy.
But you know, even giants have their weak spots. And what's really interesting with AMUL is that some of their weaknesses are actually the flip side of their strengths. That huge scale, well, it leads to massive operational costs. And that cooperative model, which is so great for empowering farmers, it can make decision-making really slow, especially when you're up against nimble competitors. On top of that, their huge distribution network depends on a cold chain that isn't always perfect. And for all their dominance in India, they haven't really made a big splash internationally. So what's on the horizon for AMUL? The opportunities are huge. Expanding internationally, especially to places with a large Indian population, seems like a total no-brainer. And then there's e-commerce. The ability to sell directly to consumers online is a game changer. But maybe the biggest opportunity of all is the global trend toward health and wellness. People trust the AMUL brand, so imagine them rolling out a whole line of organic, low-fat, or other health-focused products. That's a massive growth area right there. On the flip side, AMUL is definitely facing some serious threats. The competition is fierce. You've got strong domestic players like Mother Dairy and global powerhouses like Nestle breathing down their neck. Plus, the rise of veganism is a direct challenge to their core dairy business. And because they're in agriculture, they're always dealing with the headache of fluctuating milk prices and constantly changing food safety rules. It's a tough environment. Okay, so we've filled in all 4 boxes: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Done. But listen up, because this is where so many people get it wrong. The real magic of a SWOT analysis isn't just making a list. It's about what you do next. It's about connecting the dots between these quadrants to figure out what you should actually do. This is where the strategy really comes to life. You start mixing and matching. For instance, AMUL can take its amazing brand trust, a strength, and combine it with the health and wellness trend, an opportunity, to launch new products. See how that works? Or they can tackle a weakness, like their spotty cold chain, to go after an opportunity, like global expansion. They could also use their strength, their reputation for quality, to fight back against the threat of competition. This is it. This is how a simple analysis turns into a real, actionable strategy. All right, last big point here, and it's a really important one. A SWOT analysis can't be a one-and-done thing. The biggest mistake people make is treating this like a homework assignment. You fill in the boxes, you hand it in, and you forget about it. That's a static analysis, and it's useless almost immediately. The goal is to create a dynamic strategy. Your SWOT should be a living, breathing document. It should be at the center of your strategy talks, something you pull out and update all the time as the market changes. It's a conversation starter, not a report that just gathers dust on a shelf. So we've covered a lot of ground, right? We've defined the framework, we've walked through a real-world case study, and we've talked about how to make it a dynamic tool. So what's the one thing you absolutely need to remember from all this? Here it is. The SWOT matrix itself. That's not the point. The real value, the actual product, is the thinking that it forces you to do. Its true power is in how it helps you make sense of a complex situation, see connections you might have missed, and find the clarity you need to make a confident move.